No issues. So may I now request the speakers, the dignitaries for the inaugural session to kindly come to the dais. Mr. Ray, Dr. Chakraborty, come. Other speakers are also requested to kindly come to the dais. After an eventful day of yesterday's full proceedings, we are starting our second day today. So, Mr. Amitav Ray, who chairs our National Expert Committee on Technology, Mr. Ray, kindly deliver the welcome address.
Good morning, everybody. And it's an honor and privilege to welcome all of you in the second day of ICC Tech Summit, which we are doing it for the first time. And yesterday we had a very eventful session. And today also, if you see that we have a packed program and some of the best possible technology experts, we could bring it in front of you to understand the AI and its impact to the business. We have Dr. Utpal Chakraborty, welcome, founder and chief scientist of Ghana Lab, and Dr. Shubhashish Sengupta, managing director, India Tech Consulting, Accenture. Ms. Pallavi Arora, vice president, Cisco Customer Experience Centers. Mr. Abhijit Kokane, vice president, information technology, Gen Digital. Mr. Sabyasachi Banerjee, vice president, MD, Trantix Data Technologies, and Mr. Sandeep Patel, managing director, IBM India and South Asia. Welcome, all of you, and thanks for your time. I won't take much of your time today because you have this wonderful set of dignitaries to talk about AI and what it is going to do to our industry or all the industries for that matter. Just to start the session, I would say, we have been through a lot of industrial revolution. The first one was industrial revolution that actually amplified the human muscle, right? The way we used to work, that changed, and it has enhanced our productivity. The second revolution was the digital revolution, which enhanced our communication probabilities, or the way we communicate, systems communicate, and information we could gather by doing that smart communication. AI is, again, changing the way we work. It is amplifying the cognitive capability of human being, our capability for prediction, and also amplifying the influence technology can have in our world. So for years, technology helped organizations to think faster. AI is a little different. I think AI is beginning to influence how decisions are made in every company, how the trust is formed, and how the value is created. I think that is very important. And maybe throughout the day, we'll hear something about trust, which is very close to my heart, because I think with different tools coming in front of us, we are sometimes getting challenged at what to believe and what not to believe. Even if you watch a video on YouTube, you don't know it's a deep fake or it is actually somebody's video, right? So I think trust will become important. And this is why AI, I think it's not merely a technology disruption. It is a disruption to our society. It is a disruption to our economy. And also, it's a leadership disruption. I'm sure our distinguished guests, they are leaders in some of the best tech companies in India and abroad, and they will be able to highlight the challenges they are facing from leading the companies in this disruptive AI world. The challenge before us is not whether AI will reshape the world. It already did, right? We all, if you go back 5 years or 3 years even, we were not, as general people, not worried about AI. But now your kid at home, they are using AI tools every day, be it ChatGPT or DeepSeek or whatever it can be, right? So the challenge today is whether we as industry can guide this AI that transform the society, the companies, the way we work in a responsible manner. I think responsible AI, ethics associated with it, those are the things will become more and more critical. How much of inclusivity we can ensure in the era of AI, and also how do we influence the world in a much more intelligent way. So with that, I would like to welcome once again all of you and thank our speakers for being here. And thank you very much. And we will be having a wonderful session. I can guarantee you that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ray, for setting the tone so lucidly, so perfectly, and in the simplest possible language. AI is still a distant alien to many people, but you made it sounded very simplistic. Thank you so much. May I now request Dr. Utpal Chakravarti, founder and chief scientist, Kahana Lab, to proceed with the session. And you will be chairing the session, and after the speeches there will be a discussion which you need to moderate. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. So it's a privilege to be here sharing the dais with distinguished industry leaders. So I think the format of the session is all the speakers will be speaking for probably 5 minutes, and then we'll have a panel discussion. So Amitabh Da has already set the context. And we have got Sandeep, Pallavi, Abhijit and all who will be talking about the industry. So coming from a scientific background, I will talk a little bit about the background, or I will take a step back and discuss the different stages of AI revolution that we have been seeing. So the AI revolution as we all know, this AI is not very new, right? These statistical models or the vanilla machine learning models were there since late 60s and 70s. However, the business use cases of AI started very recently, probably a decade back or 1.5 decades back, because now we have got enough compute, we have got data and all other things. So the first stage of AI, or the first revolution of AI, I would say it is mostly the statistical models that we have been using in different industries. So if we talk about banking, probably the credit risk assessment, which is a very known use case, then probably fraud detection, sometimes customer segmentation, and all other things. But these are all basic models that we have been using. But the hype that you see today around AI, I think probably not because of those statistical or mathematical models. That is because of something called neural networks. So neural networks are, the replica of human brain, right? So our brain is a neurosynaptic computer, wherein we have got 100 billion neurons in a mature human brain. And how this neuron works is kind of a threshold mechanism. So if we talk about the visual system, like I'm looking at him, the light rays from him coming to my eyes goes through my retina and falls into something called visual cortex. In the visual cortex, the light rays are converted into electrical signals. And this electrical signals falls into the different layers of neurons that are being arranged inside our brain. Now, when this information is being passed through one neuron to another neuron, it goes in a threshold mechanism. Threshold mechanism in the sense, like suppose the information that light signal is bringing, it falls into the neuron, a chemical reaction starts inside the neuron. And this is called protein synthesis. It is very similar to photosynthesis that we see in the leaves. So what happens, the potential difference within these neurons, it increases and goes to a threshold level. And then a stage comes when it fires the information or the electrical signal to the next neuron. And in this way, after passing through millions of layers of neuron, this information has been processed, understood, and some kind of a decision has been made. Okay, so for example, I give this example everywhere. So if a child for the first day, he sees an elephant, okay, what happens? The light rays from the elephant goes through his eyes, through retina, visual cortex, and millions of layers of neurons. And then it forms an elastic image of that elephant, right? But at that point of time, the child doesn't know what exactly it is this. So he asks his father, who is standing beside him, "Father, what is that?" He said, "This is an elephant." The moment he says elephant, this elastic image that has been formed in his brain has been tagged as elephant. And from then onwards, if he sees an elephant standing, running, sitting, he will be able to recognize it because this is an elastic image. And this is called neuroplasticity. Okay, how we store information inside our brain and how we process information inside our brain. So this neural networks were the heart of the hive that you see today. And we have got different architectures of neural network. If we talk about the computer vision, for all kind of image processing, number plate recognition, video processing, and those use cases that we have been seeing for last 1 decade were attributed to a neural network called CNN, convolutional neural network. But what the challenges were, like processing the languages, okay? Since I think 2024, there was a huge challenge of processing language, although we had some neural networks called RNN, recurrent neural network. But those neural network has some problems. Those architectures have some problem processing the language because language is very difficult. I mean, same thing can be spoken in different ways. Language has a grammar, but it doesn't have a rule. That is the problem. So then what happens, like there is another neural network came into picture, which is called LSTM, long short-term memory. And I think in the room, almost every one of you has used this network, I mean, extensively, knowingly or unknowingly, because this was behind the scene for Google search. This was behind the scene for doing any kind of translation and all other things. But even then, the problem was not been solved. Why? Because this neural network can be trained to a certain extent, and after that, it becomes so bulky that if you ask anything, it cannot generate the responses quickly. Then in 2014, there is a paper that came from University of Toronto and Google, which is the revolution that you see in the world of LLM or large language model that you see. Okay, and behind the scene, the neural network that is working is called transformer neural network. And transformer neural network, along with another paper that came in 2017 called Attention That All You Need, together bring a neural network which can be trained with the entire data of the internet. So that's why we are talking about billions and trillions of parameters today. And even then it can generate the responses perfectly and can give you responses in a very shorter time. Now, fortunately, again, this neural networks has also developed the reasoning ability. Okay, so you have seen GPT 3.5 was a text generation machine. Okay, it can generate text, it can summarize text, but it didn't have any kind of reasoning ability. But today, if you see, this neural networks has developed the reasoning ability. Okay, and this is a big scientific innovation that we can see. And so, if we talk about the industry as a whole, so it is also going through a very big transformation. And as Amitabh Da has just said, it's a cognitive revolution. So we call it cognification. Okay, cognification is a word that is not there in the Oxford Dictionary, but this is something that how we can bring that cognitive element, human cognitive element, into the digitization process. So with this, again, another angle came into picture, which is like AI agents now. Okay, so the language models or the generative AI, those are good at generating text, doing some reasoning and all other things. Okay, summarizing that, uh, getting some Q&As, generating some images, audio, video. But they were not being able to do anything of their own. Right? Then this agentic AI or the AI agents which came, this has also been transforming the industry in a very big way, because now AI has a brain, AI has hands and legs, and AI also has a memory. It's like almost like a human. So when I say hands and legs are nothing but it has got access to thousands of tools. Okay, it can access to database, it can access to web, it can do anything and everything. Even you can have a robotic hand associated with AI agent. I mean, if required. I mean, on a physical kind of a thing. So with AI agents, the transformation that we have been seeing in the industry is enormous, because now the AI agents also works in autonomy. Autonomy in the sense it's not a complete autonomy, but within a boundary, we can give an autonomy to the AI agent. So it can take some level of a decision, it can do some level of work of its own, and that's a major shift. Because the revolutions that we have seen, I mean, Industrial Revolution 1, 2, 3, 4, so these are not cognitive revolution, but this time it is a cognitive revolution. And many of the mundane works that we see, or the workflows that we have been automating with, say, probably RPA kind of tools, it is going to be changed now. And also another thing, a little bit futuristic, which is coming, and we were actually discussing that in the green room, was the quantum. Now, the quantum computing is also coming together, and this AI and quantum is going to converge, because quantum is going to bring that great level of parallelism and speed. So even if we talk about a supercomputer is not a parallel computer. It can process probably very fast, but even then it is a sequential, right? But quantum computer will bring that parallelism, because the quantum behavior of the subatomic particles that we see, these can bring that. I think most of you know the superposition and entanglement, those phenomena. If we can harness those phenomena inside a quantum processor, then it can actually bring that parallelism. That means I can take millions of parts at the same time, right? And that's where it is changing everything from compute to like communication, the cryptography, the sensing, and all other things. So I think it is going to be a very exciting time, also a challenging time for the industries as also for professionals in coming future. And with that, I want to stop here because we have got great speakers lined up, and I'll request the next speakers, or you can. Thank you so much. Yeah. So the sequence is okay. Yeah, so next I would like to invite Dr. Subhashish Sengupta, Managing Director, Tech India Consulting Accenture to come on the dais and deliver his speech, please.
Thank you, Dr. Utpal, and thank you, distinguished guest and the audience here. Good morning to all of you. Good morning. I mean, we heard a great lecture on how AI is transforming the technology part of it, right? How it is actually moving and how we're getting into LLMs and agents and stuff like that. I am from Accenture. We are a user of AI, and we're also disrupted by AI, right? Because it's one of the biggest consulting firm in the world, 760,000 people worldwide. And our clients are coming and telling us, hey, how much of AI you're using? And we actually kind of a double-edged sword. So if you say that we are using a lot of AI, then they'll say that show us the value, cut the people. And if you say we're not using AI, of course, then you are in the lagging phase of it, right? You're not really updating yourself to what the rest of the industry is doing. And I think a lot of us actually will be failing this because, like Dr. Utpal mentioned, that AI agents, which are going to be a very disruptive thing in the future, they already are going to go away, going to take increasing roles in any sector that you say, right? Whether it's agriculture, whether it is industry, whether it is commerce, whether it is education, whether it is general consulting, even in day-to-day life. So I have a presentation. I will just talk about something about AI agents. And I will not give a big lecture. I will actually show this through 3 demos, through videos, right? And you can see what AI agents can do today, what the challenges are, and what we can look at in the future. Now, before I get into the demos, I just take your indulgence in talking about 2 or 3 areas of what AI agents are, because I don't know how much you know about agents, right? Can I have a show of hand of how many of you used AI beyond ChatGPT? Okay, I think 50% people actually used AI beyond ChatGPT, right? So that's good. And what are the areas that you have used AI on? If I may ask anybody. Sorry? Automating the workflow in the product. So basically that's fantastic. So that's one of the areas that we actually are looking at. But let me get started. So we talked about agents. What are agents? Agents are almost like, I mean, in the future, almost like going to be what a human can do, right? What the human can do? Human are autonomous. If you are giving somebody to bring gas cylinders, obviously now there's a risk to this. You don't really bother how he gets it, right? You give an autonomy, you give some guardrails, don't do something very wrong, but get me a gas cylinder or get me a permit or something like that. Of course, many of these things are not right examples right now, but you actually give, if you ask an agent, you give autonomy to the agent. The second is the agent has to perceive. It has to perceive the environment, what it is getting, what signals it is getting, both physical and also cognitive. It should be able to do the reasoning. If I cannot do in path A, can I do this in path B? If I have to retrace a step, can I do something else? It should also learn. So it should actually do something, get some learning. It might fail. Next time it should do better, right? That's the expectation of an agent. And it should be able to use tools. Just now, Dr. Utpal talked about having limbs, hands and arms. AI by itself cannot execute something, but can it actually have, can you call it a third-party tool? Can it call it some other API or some other agent to do these things, right? And you can see this block diagram, which actually talks about this. So it actually has a cognitive model. It actually also has something called an action module and as a learning module. And this is something that we say in Accenture, and this is the last slide I'll talk about before I go to the videos. You can look at the distinction between how the enterprise workflows used to happen earlier, or business workflows, and why it is going to happen in the AI economy or AI agentic economy, right? Because I believe most of you are from the enterprises, so you may actually relate to this very good. The first thing, the sir talked about using AI for process automation. Used to be instruction driven. I mean, we heard this term called RPA, robotic process automation. You actually tell each and every step you should do. It's like an if then else, right? You should do this if it actually happens. So instead of doing things manually, you write a bunch of scripts. It could be some Unix scripts, it could be some high level scripts, and the AI would actually do that. What changes with autonomy or with agents is basically becomes an intention driven. So you don't tell that, do A and B and C, but you tell that, I need to get this outcome. I need to get to that goal. So basically, you give the input on a goal, and you give the input on a cost, maybe a budget. You give an input on what to do and what not to do, so that it doesn't do something wrong. It doesn't listen all the time, I'll tell you. And then you also tell it, what is the reward that you will give him if it does well. Because there is always a learning function involved. If you give this in AI, there is something called reinforcement learning. You can give a reward to the AI agent if it does things well, and you can penalize it if it doesn't do the things well. And then you orchestrate stuff. And what we believe in Accenture is also to bring human in the loop. So if you just let AI to do everything, it will run amok. And there are many critical processes where the outcome is actually human dependent. The AI can give an input, but human takes a final judgment. And our sincere belief is that even though we are going to something called AGI and other stuff, artificial general intelligence, human should always be in the loop, if not in the lead. Right? Now let me go to the 3 scenarios, which I hope you will relate to. I'll not go through this because it's too technical. Okay, there's the first scenario. I also happen to, can you just stop it, pause it a bit before we get started? I just wanted to set a context. I also happen to run a lab in India. It's actually an Accenture technology lab. I'm a managing director there, apart from my other job of consulting and Southeast Asia innovation unit. In the lab, we bring some of those technologies to the fore, which will be, maybe in the mainstream, 2 or 3 years down the line. So we don't do fundamental research, by the way, but we do applied research. Now, when we actually looked at AI agents, we thought at what are the industries or what are the use cases that agents would actually be interesting, right? And people also talk about multiple agents coming together. We just gave that orchestration example there. So we have a lot of banking and capital market clients. I think you are also doing a lot of capital markets things. We actually do things like transactions, stock trading, taking positions and stuff like that. We thought there is always something called a trade room, right? Where you actually have a principal trader, you have got other guys who are actually running the errands. Somebody is getting the market data, somebody is getting the stock tickers, somebody is getting the compliance checks and stuff like that. Somebody is looking at institutions' portfolios and stuff. Why don't we just replace everything and run a simulation with AI? Let's see what happens. So we actually had a multi-agent structure here using a reasoning model, which have a central agent, which is called a trading agent. And we have a bunch of other agents which are feeding to the trading agent. And we ran a simulation box, right? We're actually running this, and we are talking to a lot of clients actually. Then they're saying that, hey, we cannot really replace human traders. We cannot, definitely. But can you actually give right set of inputs to human traders? Now, given this background, let me run this demo. So you can start this. So I've started a demo with an agent telling that it's called Agentic Trade Room. I'm telling that it actually runs in a simulation environment. I'm giving a start date and stop date. I'm also giving it a goal of what it should do. It should actually do capital appreciation without losing money. Now I can see different agents are coming in. And since it's a simulation, one trade day is around 2 minutes or something like that. And we're actually getting live data in the sense that it's a simulated data, but actually it's for Yahoo Finance and NASDAQ data coming in. And you can see some agents are actually collecting news. We started with the portfolio, we given some money, and we're giving the agents some autonomy to work on. So news agent is basically getting news about Tesla and finding out the sentiment of the news, because a lot of trades actually happens on sentiments, along with other technicals. Then there are other agents which will come in, which will actually talk about how that how the tickers actually coming in, right? You can see that ticker agent actually giving stock market signals and stock analysis. These are all typically done through algos and by the humans. Then you'll see third agent coming in, which is essentially for doing a compliance check. Because when you are doing institutional trading, you have to actually do a compliance check against what you want to do, right? So you can see there's a summary agent, there is a trader agent which actually buying and selling stuff. These are all simulation, right? But then there is also a compliance agent which is coming doing stuff from there. So it goes on like this, but you can see certain interesting things here. You can see each of these agents and telling their thoughts, and this is basically a collaboration, right? So there is an agent-to-agent communication which is going on. Certain agents are looking at certain pieces of the puzzle, looking at certain inputs and giving some rationale of what actually is trying to do, and giving that output to the trader agent, which is the main agent. But mind you, we are not telling trader agent what to do. We actually have it given it autonomy. So even if somebody says that, you should actually sell this because we are getting negative signal, we are not making it binding on the trader agent to give it negative signal. Trader agent can take its own decision and keep on holding the stock even it's going to a stop loss scenario. And we have run this in multiple iterations. We have done this with multiple Wall Street clients also. I mean, I obviously cannot show the enhanced version of the demo. But it actually are getting into a good discussion about where we can bring in AI agents to help, the trading scenarios and what it can and cannot do related to the conventional trading practices that they use today. One of the good things is that this essentially does almost an effort saving of more than 40 to 50% of a traditional trade room or a trade desk, as you call them. The second thing is that we have done some extensive back testing to see how it actually works related to some of the algorithm trading strategies that you would actually have, right? People actually use different algos trading strategies. I will not say it's doing 100% better, but it actually does pretty well compared to depending on whether you take an aggressive trading strategy or conservative versus moderate. It essentially starts mimicking the behavior of a well-established trader if you actually bring something like reinforcement learning, which I'm not showing here. Anyway, so that's the demo number 1. How are we doing on time? Can we show 2 more videos? If it's I think it's already over. Okay. Okay, so let's just talk about one more thing and then we'll get started. One more video, please. Can you run the next one? And a small introduction. Before you start, please, if you can just stop it once and we can pause. Yeah. There's a fundamental shift which is happening in the way we buy stuff today, right? We have stopped going to markets most of the time. We actually do things like, Zomato, Zepto, Blinkit, Flipkart and all this stuff, right? But this is basically actually happening is when you actually go and search something, maybe through a website, which is called commerce site, or maybe through a Google search, and you actually go there and click on a link. What is actually happening right now is something called headless commerce. So you are building something, but then there are a bunch of agents which are coming up and disintermediating the thing between a buyer and a seller. So if you go and do a Google search today, you will not see a lot of links. You'll see an AI box coming up. Have you seen that? And this is called zero-click search. What is happening is basically AI agents are coming in and searching on behalf of you. Now gone ahead and Google actually launched something called UCP, Universal Commerce Protocol, and OpenAI and others actually launched something called ACP, which is Agentic Commerce Protocol. So this is a small demo of how agentic search will actually happen. So you imagine an agent on your behalf which knows about your profile, your demography, your buying patterns, the things that you like and dislike, and impersonate you. At the same time, there'll be agents, AI agents sitting on the shopping sites, right? They actually put the catalogs, they'll put the monies, they'll put the discounts, they'll put the bundling, and everything is basically getting disintermediated at that layer. So just a small video to let you know how the whole thing of commerce, e-commerce, is getting to something called agentic commerce, and that's a huge shift which is coming up. And it's going to affect everybody in the market. So let's run this video now. I think the voice is not coming. Can you just enable the voice? Then I think I don't want to speak again. If you just rewind, and that's the last one, I promise.
On behalf of the customer simply states their goal, along with constraints like budget or personal preferences, and the agent figures out what to buy and completes the purchase securely and manages the entire process end to end. For customers, this means far less effort, no browsing fatigue, decisions that are personalized to their habits and needs, and the ability to confidently delegate routine purchases to an agent they trust. For merchants, this changes how customers are won. Success is no longer about visibility on a screen. It's about being the best choice for an agent with clear product data, transparent pricing, and reliable fulfillment. Our grocery demo shows this in action. A simple dinner request becomes real product choices, user preference and constraint-aware decisions, and a completed order, all without the customer ever visiting a merchant website. That's agentic commerce. I want to prepare a meal, for which I will go to my trusted assistant here. Will give me some suggestions and ask me for some constraints. Finally, it will suggest the list of ingredients to me. It looks like I may have some of these ingredients, so I'll try to remove this from the list. The grocery assistant will then look through various store catalogs and show them here to me. To summarize, this is my requirement. I was looking for tom yum soup, 4 servings under a budget of 16 pounds, as well as a preference for vegetarian. I've not mentioned things like allergens, etc., but those can be captured if necessary. These are the overall ingredients. Some of them are like fish sauce are marked optional. Internally, the system goes through multiple stores and shows me the catalog from those stores, which map the ingredients I need. Internally, you can see the raw specifications, essentially the catalogs of each of the stores. Each of the stores provide the name of their products and some of the tags, such as vegetarian, as well as tags. Additional tags could be halal, well-known allergens, etc. This can help with the discovery process. As you can see, the tags of each of the stores are available. It also tags some of the ingredients that are not found. One additional thing that is done here is that certain substitutions are shown. So the store doesn't have galangal, which is very Thai specific. It mentions that you can substitute this with ginger. Once I go through these catalogs, I can select which store best meets my requirement. In the future, perhaps we can integrate catalogs from multiple stores. It also marks up certain things. For example, fish sauce is actually non-vegetarian, and here it gives me the option to remove that. Once I've selected the store, I can proceed to checkout. Agentic commerce shifts shopping from interfaces to agents. Open protocols make.
So all I'm showing here is that it's something that we're doing with some UK superstore, which is actually getting implemented now. So you just talk to an agent in your cell phone, and your commerce gets done. No clicking, right? And that's the power of agents. But there are a lot of risks and other things also, which I had in a third demo, but we don't have time for that, so we can come back and thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Subhashish. It was really, both the demos were really interesting demos. Now I would request Pallavi Arora, Vice President, Cisco Customer Experience Centers, to deliver her talk.
Good morning, everyone. I am Pallavi. I come from the company called Cisco. I don't know how many people are familiar with Cisco systems. I'll just give a brief introduction about my company. We are an infrastructure company. We provide both hardware and software infrastructure. Our customers are mostly all B2B, right? We don't usually are not in the B2C business. You name it, like if I were to take some of the names of our customers, we provide critical infrastructure to a lot of different kinds of businesses that we have. So if you talk about all the service providers, your Airtel, Geo networks, they are our very, very big customers. Most of their networks run on Cisco Gear. You name government, all our government, including all the defense sectors, Indian Air Force, Navy, they buy a lot of our routers and switches and security gear. If you name all the banking customers, SBI is our biggest customer. So a lot of the banks, their critical infrastructure run on Gear. So what do we make? So we basically make a lot of router switches. That's what Cisco typically is known for, routers and switches, and everyone needs them, right? Connectivity is very key. Networking, as you all know, and AI is coming there, right? Some of us who have been born in the late 60s, 70s, 80s, we grew up without the network. We knew how to work around with our network, but I think when you really look at the Gen X and millennials, they can't imagine a world without network. Later, we can't imagine a world without smartphones. And the future generation will not know a world without AI, right? And that's been like our technical revolution. So let me give an example. I think I have one slide. And in fact, I just brought up the slide just to show what AI is capable of. I must say that I did not create the slide. The slide was created by AI. Okay, so that's the confession I want to make, just to show how, we can go to the next slide. Just to, so how powerful AI has become. All you have to do is give it the full context of what are you talking about. I just fed the whole context of the ICC, the AI schedule today, and I said, can you come up with a slide that shows the purpose of this session today, of what are we really talking about? And this is what the AI was able to do. Now, what I do as Cisco does is we power the infrastructure that makes AI possible from both hardware and software. So if you really look at it, like all these industries that I have called out, manufacturing, healthcare, finance, education, governance, banks, all of our customers. And I'll give, like I said, again, I want to emphasize we provide critical infrastructure. So let me give you what happens if our products fail with our customers. In our case, Indian Air Force is a big customer. If our infrastructure has a glitch and there is a major security threat and there are incursions happening, the scrambling of the aircrafts may not happen if our infrastructure fails. In the banks, if our infrastructure fails, none of your UPI operations can happen. Your ATMs will stop working if our infrastructure fails. You talk about big IT companies, be it your HCLs, Infosys, a lot of their infrastructure is based on that, which means the employees' productivity can go down if our gears fail. When you talk about Airtel, Geo, can you imagine you have a network outage for the next 2 hours? So in my house, when the broadband doesn't work, the first thing my husband calls and says, can you call your customer support and see if there's an Airtel issue logged because my broadband is not working, right? So I think that's the kind of infrastructure we run, and it's very, very critical, which also means our customers are very, very tough. And as you saw, I come from Customer Experience Center. I meet a lot of our customers. The first thing they ask for me is reliability, visibility into what is happening, reliability. And what they really ask is a very reliable, always available infrastructure that they buy from us. They want the guarantee. They don't want it to fail, because today, many CEOs, CIOs can get fired if there has been an outage. What causes this outage? The outage, a lot of it today happens because of security, for sure, right? And hopefully people who attended session yesterday evening, security can be one of the causes for a lot of the outages that happen and bring down massive networks, massive infrastructure, right? The second, obviously, if you don't know, is just purely configuration. So these networks, we keep on changing how it works, what we call it as configuration. We keep making it, the features we enable, keep enabling it, right? A simple configuration, someone misconfigured using, a lot of the configuration used to happen through even automation or a script, anything, there can be a human fault. A lot of 50% of the outages of infrastructure is actually caused by human beings. I want to call out simple human beings making simple mistakes when they are doing a setup and can bring down an entire network. So this has been the biggest problem now. How do we avoid human mistakes and how do we do it? And that's where probably AI comes in. So one of the things we have believed in, so obviously I talked about security glitches. So obviously Cisco has a solution for it to make sure that we also have a security portfolio that can come in and help our infrastructure from getting, going through security attacks, and how do we make sure that our infrastructure is not vulnerable to security attacks, right? So now the other thing is that since we have massive networks, like for example, Reliance Jio, can you imagine how much of switches and routers do they buy from us, or it's there in the network? It's millions. Billions of routers and switches are there to make Reliance Jio work today. Now, how does someone like the person who runs IT for Jio, their biggest nightmare is an outage. So they want visibility. They, at any point in time, they want to have a visibility of what's happening in the network. Either it could be someone configuring or any runtime traffic that can bring an outage. They expect us to tell them something before it happens, right? That's okay. That is more like monitoring. But the most important thing is, can you proactively prevent it from happening? I think that is where AI comes in. So we have built AI into all our products today, where we are going to help monitor for anything that's waiting to happen. And before it can happen, can we go and either isolate it, because we may not be able to solve it in real time. So isolate it so that the impact is very minimal. So you build like redundancy in the network, you route the traffic from before it can happen. Or the biggest AI that we can do is actually go and resolve it where possible. If it was especially misconfigured, if something, and in fact, why do you even let people make those human mistakes? Before they make human mistake, can you really catch it? And prevent that from happening and say, hey, sorry, this is going to cause an outage, right? And since it's so massive, it's humanly impossible for us to do something. When there are millions of routers and switches involved, it's humanly impossible for us to monitor or make any corrective actions in those networks. And that's why AI comes in handy, right? Our ability to look at the data in real time and being able to predict that something is going to break now, and how do we go fix it before it breaks, I think is going to be very, very important, right? So I think for any of this to happen, obviously none of this is going to happen without human. While humans do make mistakes, they're also the ones who are training the AI systems today to help the AI understand what is a good looks like and what does bad look like. And even for a security perspective, right? What is good look like and what does bad look like? With human in the loop, AI is really set to make the lives of companies much more simpler, the businesses, right? It's every CEO's, every IT head's nightmare to say, hey, what's going to happen, right? And even all the airports, by the way, are so digitized today. The airports, flights taking off, how many of you have heard of outages that caused the entire airline industry coming to its halt, right? Or even airports coming to halt. So a lot of these are, so it's so important today, and the only way to avoid this is actually to have AI enabled infrastructure that can actually help prevent outages. So I just wanted to paint the picture from a customers and use cases perspective of how we are going to do. I think I want to keep it short because I know we have a lot of speakers ahead of us, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Pallavi. It was really an insightful session, especially the Cisco ecosystem that you talk about. Now I would request Abhijit Konane, Vice President Information Technology at Gen Digital, to deliver his talk.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Abhijit Kokane. Firstly, thank you for inviting me here and spending your time and listening through what I have for you today. I don't have any slides. It's a very exciting topic, really, and it's been discussed in every possible room and every possible conference as we speak. Pallavi's slide started with the word unleash, and I think that best describes how AI is right now. It is not in pilot stage, it is not in evaluation, it is unleashed everywhere. We are talking about it in, boardrooms, it's there in education, it's there in healthcare. You talk about the industry and AI is right there. What I want to do today, in the next 5 to 6 minutes, purely based on the overall experience. How do we kind of do leadership and particularly focus on being leader? How do you kind of drive this in this new age of AI? That's what I really want to kind of focus on. I want to, that I would really be happy if you are able to kind of take that as a takeaway today. But before I get there, I want to set the stage. What are we talking about, right? The disruption part of it, the kind of disruption we are talking about. At this point, you kind of look at, again, I mean, I just mentioned about it. You look at any industry and there is AI, which is kind of disrupting things, right? With the disruption, there's also an opportunity. For example, if we kind of talk about manufacturing, with manufacturing, with predictive analysis, you can avoid outages in manufacturing. You can find faults, which humans are very hard to find. For humans, it is very hard to find. This kind of gives an opportunity for something like India, where we are trying to do Make in India. And if we can leverage AI, then that kind of helps us to kind of really leapfrog into the whole manufacturing industry. Talk about education. We have like 250 million plus kids going to school. If we can leverage AI to customize and make sure that language as well as what exactly needs to be taught to the student can be customized, then there's a great opportunity for us to transform the country. Almost every industry, right? Like talk about medical science. In medical science today in India, the doctor to patient ratio is so challenged. And if we are able to leverage assistance from AI in terms of medical field, there is so much potential for us to kind of solve some of these key challenges. So that's a little bit of a disruption part of what is happening in the AI side. The next thing I want to kind of touch upon is separating noise from the main signal, right? I mean, let's face it. There is so much of hype as well, which is going on with AI. If you kind of read the recent McKinsey report, it says that the global GDPs are going to grow by 15 to 20 trillion in the next 6 years because of AI. Sometimes I really wonder, like all these AI companies and these economists, they come up with these numbers which are so precise, like 32 trillion economy is going to increase by next 20 years. But they don't have anything which kind of very clearly backs it up. 70% of AI pilots fail today. It's not about the technology, but to adopt AI, you have to change everything structurally. You need to have great data. You need to have the right kind of infrastructure. People are only talking about it, but let's be honest, there is a lot of hype cycle as well. I completely agree that there is a big potential of having global GDP grow by 35 billion, but it is not going to just happen because AI is there. We all have to earn it. And the same goes for a country like India, where we have to make sure that, we build the infrastructure, we build the capabilities, we build the skill set to get there. The third piece which I want to come to is, while AI brings great gains, it also brings pain. Amitabh sir talked about amplifying our cognitive space, but in a lot of boardrooms right now, we are not even talking about amplifying, we are talking about replacing, and that does bring a big risk. With AI, jobs are going to get displaced. Things like call center, first line support, even software engineering are going to have impact. And if that's going to have an impact, that is going to be a big impact for some countries like India, where we have a large amount of people employed through those areas. So how do we really transform our people into readiness for the new age is going to be very important. How do we kind of really leapfrog into those areas is the conversation we need to have. And we are already late. We need to have that conversation right now. Otherwise, this is going to become a big challenge for us. As much as it has the opportunity, it kind of brings the challenge. With that said, I want to kind of, now that I have given you a little bit of a context from a leadership perspective, I'm going to go a slightly level below to talk about some of the things which I have learned while with my experience when we've been implementing AI. And I want every one of us to just kind of think about it and learn from the mistakes which we did which will help us to really lead this particular journey. When you're building AI, I think it's important that you build the governance framework first. This is extremely important. You're putting your company data in it, you're putting your IP in it. You need to have the governance built before you start any AI journey. Second piece is, this is different than digital transformation. Digital transformation was, oh, this is my process, how can I automate it? Here, this actually gives you an option to completely redesign how you used to do things. So think redesigning the complete end-to-end system, not necessarily just the process. Extremely important. Every organization has a certain context. What someone else did doesn't automatically fit your organization. You may have legacy systems, you may have old data. It is important to really identify what fits you. And then the last, from a leadership perspective, I have learned, and when we started this whole journey of implementing AI at Gen about a year back, every time there was something which comes to my table, I would say, okay, show me the use case, show me the ROI. And we didn't go anywhere. But at some stage, we took a punt, we took a gamble and said, you know what, I'm going to get out of this. I'm just going to democratize it, give it to everyone, unleash it, and see what happens. And in 6 months, I'm seeing from finance, from HR, from all the non-technology people side of it as well, people are figuring out how they can leverage AI and transform the system. This is slightly different. As technology leaders, we need to take a backseat, build guardrails, build governance, make sure that you democratize, provide the technology. It will unleash and it will be used by everyone in the way they want it. You're not here to actually handhold people as well. So this is some of my learnings, and I thought I'll kind of share it with you. Hopefully this helps you. That's all what I have for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Abhijit. Now I would request Sabyasachi Banerjee, MD, Transistic Data Technologies, to deliver his talk.
So good morning, everyone. When you have such a distinguished set of speakers, you don't need much to say. Most of it is covered. So I will try to go straight away to the point that what we do as a company. So our company, Transistic Data Technologies, we are focusing, have worked over the past 16 years in the field of logistics and supply chain, the back office of it, and several publishing solutions. So these are the two major domains in which we work. We process almost 70 million invoices a year. Invoices which comes in different formats, EDI, structured, non-structured, manual invoices, mail invoices. So you can understand that a lot of manual effort was required to be put in. We worked accordingly. We changed from manual keying to OCR, building templates, flowing the data through those templates. And now then we have created a AI tool called Text Extract, which is doing wonderfully well. However, there are challenges, there are disruptions. There were situations wherein we were a little bit modest when things were not working as per our expectation in terms of quality. Then we realized that it's like, it's kind of a baby. So the more you feed, the more you train, the more you show different environments, better it works. So, and similarly, like I do believe there will be disruptions. There has always been disruptions, starting from the days when I was in my school and computers came. So now that you can guess my age, and then came the Y2K, and my father was unwilling to pay for my NIT, that it will not work. But it is working, it has worked. There will be disruptions in AI, but trust me, we'll all go past those disruptions with flying colors. There will be some elimination of the routine work, which I personally feel. So that's the reason in our company we have tried to upgrade the skills and the education level of AI, tried to be transparent with the employees so that they can understand what is there going to come. And it is a transformation for both the senior leaders and as well as the each and everyone in the company, to be honest. So we feel that, and one more thing I would like to say that we have a publishing solutions wherein we have developed a tool called Edit. It's an editorial tool. There I have seen that unlike the text extract, the editorial tool lacks, although it's an AI infused tool, it changes a lot of punctuations and all those things which are required at the first or second level of editing, but it lacks human empathy. So human beings are required. They will always be required. It is human intelligence who supersedes, so who has created artificial intelligence. So for me, there will be disruptions, but AI is there, AI will be there, and we will get accustomed to it. Anything and everything we will come by. Thank you very much. I'll keep it short. Thank you.
Thank you, Bichaji. Now I would request Mr. Shandip Patel, Managing Director, IBM India and South Asia, to deliver his talk.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Given that I think we're running a little late, I'll try to summarize the key points, I think, and try to bring together a lot of the points that were made thus far. So look, artificial intelligence today is no longer an emerging technology conversation. I mean, I think we all see this, we all experience it. It's more about a leadership conversation. It's about competitiveness, resilience, and long-term value creation in many ways. Today, it's reshaping industries, redefining business models, and recalibrating global economic power structures. From automating routine operations, which I think we are already seeing in day-to-day life, to augmenting complex decision-making. And I think that is where the power of this technology is. Is it enabling us to make better decisions by augmenting intelligence in a way that enables us to use data of all forms in a very meaningful way. So this is now enabling us to unleash AI at scale with consequences which are both fairly revolutionary in some respects, but also disruptive. So the real question before us is whether AI will transform our organizations. I mean, that's not a question anymore, but how deliberately and responsibly we choose to lead that transformation. That is the leadership imperative, I believe. So I'm going to talk about, four key quick things. One, AI that is moving from experimentation to enterprise impact. And we are seeing it all around us. So, in manufacturing, it's improving uptime, quality, supply chain resilience. In financial services, it's redefining risk intelligence, compliance, customer engagement as it never has before. In healthcare, it's accelerating research while it's improving clinical outcomes. And education and citizen services, it's expanding access and improving decision transparency across the board. What we are seeing globally, is clear. And at IBM, we've gone from shifting from AI curiosity to AI accountability. And I think is the imperative for all of us. I'll just give you a very quick example. I know we saw several examples today, but we've been living it as an enterprise. So we are both in the business of building technology and platforms. So we have our own AI platform called watsonx, but we also deliver services that uses watsonx to deliver client value. Now, as we built this technology, before we took it to clients, we applied it to ourselves. So we call it, the symptom of client zero, where you try to apply it to yourselves and see whether you are actually able to unleash value or not. So significant portion, we've been at this journey for about 3 years now. In 3 years, we've actually taken $4.5 billion in productivity gains that is unlocked for us over the last 3 years. We've actually taken it to our bottom line. And this means, basically using AI to redesign and redo our own internal workflows, whether it's HR, finance, IT operations, where we are actually using something that we just announced last week called Bob, which is actually enabling a lot of code development for our software development organization. So it's not about automation for its own sake. It's about freeing talent to focus on higher value, judgment-driven work while it's improving speed, accuracy, resilience. And clearly, as is true with any technology, productivity gains will come along the way. So this is the enterprise benchmark, which I believe leaders should be aiming for. Now, at a macro level, AI is projected to continue and contribute trillions of dollars to the global GDP over the next decade. And that contribution will not just come from productivity gains, it's also about faster innovation cycles and entirely new business models. I grew up in the financial services and insurance sector, and I actually do believe that AI, if used right, can actually help us change industry paradigms. And I give the example of what I have seen and experienced over the years in the insurance industry. In insurance today, you buy insurance. Why? Because you're protecting against loss. You basically want to get compensated for loss, right? So it is basically managing loss and how you try to avoid loss. You're managing loss prevention. If you turn that into managing the risk of prevention and you prevent the losses, it changes the whole paradigm of the industry completely. It means different types of premiums. You will actually pay lower premiums, but you will be spending more in terms of how you avoid those losses. So AI today simultaneously is disrupting existing roles. It's raising new risks around security, bias, compliance, and trust. And this dual impact, growth coupled with disruption, is what makes AI profoundly strategic. In our work with enterprises globally, we are seeing a clear divide emerging. Organizations that use AI tactically to cut costs or automate isolated functions, and organizations that are using AI strategically to truly re-architect processes, decisions, and customer experiences end to end. And the second group is where sustained advantage is being created. So you really need to think about how you're using AI in a strategic manner, right? Now, it's also very important to separate AI hype from enterprise reality. The AI conversation today, especially around generative AI and AI agents, is heavily inflated with hype. Some believe that AI is an instant productivity switch. Others fear that it is an uncontrollable force that will outpace governance. Enterprise reality sits somewhere in the middle. At IBM, our experience has been that AI value scales only when three things actually come together. Number one, trusted data. If you don't have trusted data and data that's organized appropriately, it's impossible to really get the true value out of AI. Second, hybrid enterprise-grade platforms. We are living in a hybrid infrastructure world. We will have, and that will prevail for a long time. And so having effective mechanisms by which you can actually move data from where it's created to where it actually needs to be used is really, really important. And this is where we've actually been spending a lot of investment in building up hybrid capabilities, not just with things like Red Hat and others that provide the hybrid layer, but also acquisitions like Confluent, which enable us to bring data to where data actually needs to be used vis-a-vis recreating it over and over again. And third element, which is really important, and many people talked about it, is clear governance and accountability. This is why we've taken a very strong position on enterprise AI that's built on trust and transparency. If you can't explain it, it's going to be very difficult for anyone to trust the outcomes that any AI delivers. So generative AI, for instance, delivers meaningful impact only when models are governed appropriately, they are explainable, they are secure, and integrated into real business processes, not when they just operate as standalone tools. So for business leaders, this distinction is clear, is very critical. AI strategy cannot be outsourced to technology teams alone. It needs to be owned at the top. Now, let me make a quick comment about AI and the future of work. There are very few topics today that generate more boardroom debate than AI's impact on jobs. The reality is, as is true with probably any technology that we've seen from time immemorial, AI is changing work. It's not eliminating it wholesale. There will be some that will be eliminated, but what is disappearing are repetitive rules-based tasks. And what is emerging are roles that demand digital fluency, critical thinking, ethical judgment, and industry-specific expertise. There's also more technical capabilities that are now being required, such as prompt engineering and others that are becoming very real. So we've seen this shift firsthand at IBM. Significant investment in reskilling have enabled employees to move to higher value roles, working with AI rather than competing against it. I was actually at our leadership meeting, which we have quarterly about 2 weeks ago, and all of us actually undertook a task to really put AI to use in some of the work that we do on a day-to-day basis. And this was this was basically the top 70 people in the company who basically are going to be actually doing some work with hands-on, getting hands dirty with AI, because it's really important that we understand how we use it so that we can proliferate it across our teams. And we are working to ensure also that the larger community is not left behind. That is why last year we announced a commitment to skill 5 million learners across India in technologies like AI, cybersecurity, and quantum computing by 2030. Companies, I truly believe that companies that fail to reskill their workforce will face talent shortages, slower adoption, and cultural resistance. And those that invest early in continuous learning, not just for your employees, but actually at a leadership level, that is going to become very, very critical. Now, Amitabh actually started with this, and I'm just going to try and bring this together as a close. Perhaps the most important shift underway is that AI has made trust a key metric for scale. Customers, regulators, partners, employees are asking the hard questions. Can AI decisions be explained? Can you really explain it? Is data being used responsibly? Are you using the right data that you are in fact allowed to use and have the permission to use? Are outcomes fair, secure, compliant with local regulations? All of this becomes very, very critical in driving responsible AI. Now, we have been very vocal on the principle of responsible AI long before it became fashionable. We actually, when we started toying with AI, I think about 7, 8 years ago, we were one of the first to publish a data stewardship manifesto that we were required to do. Actually, that there was a requirement from the European Union to basically talk about what we thought about data, right? But this means that building systems that are explainable, auditable, secure, and unbiased by design is really important. And as local regulations evolve to match the pace of innovation, digital sovereignty, it'll become, this is going to become a key consideration as AI systems, including generative and agentic AI, process highly sensitive data. We believe that digital sovereignty is no longer about where data resides. Data residency, yes, that's a given. That's not something to feel very good about. I mean, that is a given anyways. It's about who controls it, how it is governed, and under laws under which AI systems operate. Are you compliant with those laws? For India, digital sovereignty is critical to enabling innovation without compromising national priorities. Because the future of India's digital progress will not be defined by technology alone, but by who governs it, who controls it, and who benefits from it. I leave you with one final thought. For India, AI represents not just adoption, but a leadership opportunity. We have scale, we have talent, and increasingly we have a strong digital public infrastructure. The question is no longer whether AI will transform our nation. It already is doing it. The real question is, will we lead that transformation or react to it? This is where collaboration between enterprises, startups, academia, government becomes decisive, and where global organizations, I give us as an example, see India playing a defining role in shaping AI for the world. And I think that is the imperative across all of us in this room, all of us who are members of ICC. I think it's really important that we step back and reflect on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Shandip. It was really a great talk, and you have actually touched upon a lot of things. And something which is very close to my heart is digital sovereignty, or the sovereign AI, sovereign cloud, and all those things. Yeah, so I think will we start okay, 2 questions, and then we'll take the question from the audience. Okay. So we'll open the floor for the audience. Can you please pass on this mic? Yeah, sure.
Any questions? Yeah. If you could, introduce yourself. We have very limited time, so one more.
My name is Rajgopal Tampi. India is talking about Make in India initiatives, and again, we want to talk about digital sovereignty. See, what has happened is the Mythos incident puts us in a difficult spot. How are we going to manage that? And the second, you talked about data, who controls the data. So it's a very important thing. What are we doing about it?
So, yeah, Shandip, you want to take it?
So look, I think what we are seeing in India right now is clearly a move towards Make in India, where there is a line that regulators are drawing between over-regulating AI too much, where innovation gets stifled, versus also making it such free-for-all that it really misses the issues around things like Mythos and others that you're talking about. So I think the answer is somewhere in between, where digital sovereignty, at least the way we define it, and I think this is a definition that is still evolving across not just our country, but in many jurisdictions, right? So the whole notion of digital sovereignty, what started with data residency, which I think is important, and I think data residency, when at least I talk to regulators, it's all about making sure that data is somewhere where it is visible, where it is being governed, and it is not hostage to any laws from foreign lands that could actually, take it into hostage. I think that is the way data residency has been defined. But today, I think that is now extended to the notion of operational and technical sovereignty, where ensuring that you have some level of replaceability in the stack that you have, where your data and AI are operating. 2, where data doesn't have to go to AI to get results, but AI actually is available where data is resident, so that particularly for more critical applications than others, you are not, giving up control of your data. And third, I think, which is becoming more relevant, which we just announced this last week, something called Sovereign Core, which basically enables you to keep your control plane and your all of your controls in terms of managing your cloud and hybrid infrastructure within your jurisdiction, if required. So I think that is where the world is moving now. I'm sorry?
That doesn't fully answer the question, because, Mythos is all about computing power and finding zero-day vulnerabilities. So it's something not to do with data.
It's not only to do with data. I completely agree with you, which is why I made the point around technical and digital sovereignty in terms of the infrastructure and how you enable your applications or even your AI platform within the walls that you may need to create, depending on the level of um, privacy and others that you need. So I don't believe it's only about data. I completely agree with you, and I'd encourage you at least look. I can't comment on what everyone else is doing, but what we have tried to address, because this is an issue, as I said, the definition, I don't think there's a uniform definition that sits anywhere around the area of digital sovereignty. But I believe it is about how do you control data and outcomes in a way within a hybrid infrastructure where you can put checks and balances so that your data is not, shared outside, and the outcomes are something that you can confirm are within your firewalls.
A quick one is, if it is not only about data or the system or tools, it's also with governance. Like Mythos you talked about, in our country, it's stopped. Like you cannot use Mythos. In many countries, their regulatory, framework, what you can do and cannot do. Like, in any part of our life, like cyanide, you and I cannot use apart from medical reason, right? So the doctors can prescribe under which circumstances cyanide can be used, right? So it's like that. So I think regulatory framework is going to tackle those kind of scenario. It is not about technology or data itself.
My name is Vishwas Tendulkar. This country has seen two revolutions earlier. First, IT revolution, supercomputer came, institution NASCOM form, IT Act was in place, minister was in place, then it was a $1 billion industry. Second revolution, telecom. Towers came first, then the regulations came, Act came, ministry came. In case of AI, nothing is there today. No institution, no act, no hardware, at least in telecom, the towers were built up. How do we expect that the industry will go in $1 trillion in case of India? I'm not talking about the world. Can you reply in a different?
Anyone in the panelists can want to take that question, or probably I can start and then probably you can. So there are frameworks, global frameworks, which are being used, not extensively, of course, because as you know, AI is an evolving technology, right? And at the same time, we don't want to hinder the growth of this beautiful technology just by putting some regulations, right? So we need to draw that line, that trade-off. So that's why India also already has published a draft version of that regulatory framework to regulate AI. But again, saying that as a country, as a developing country, we want to reap the benefits of AI. AI can add a huge to our GDP and all other things, right? So we should not be just controlling AI just for the sake of putting some kind of a regulation. Okay, so that is our philosophy. But at the same time, I do respect that we should have some kind of regulatory framework, some kind of say probably ethical guidelines and all other things. Yeah, if anybody. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think there is just I'll give you a slightly different point of view. I think the moment you create very firm regulations and institutions, the technology then becomes hostage to it. If I think about, and I've sort of looked at this in many other jurisdictions, though I concern myself only with India because that's what my role is right now. But in India, what I've actually found with the regulators, with the ministry and others, I think there is a very clear view in their mind that while we need to put certain guardrails in place, we don't want to stifle innovation of the technology. Because the moment there are acts that get put in place, then it is, at least what I've seen, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but when you look at time immemorial, and particularly acts that do get instituted in India, then it becomes the interpretation of that statute by every agency and every company in terms of how it is implemented and how it is executed. I think what the government is trying to do, I think they've brought in some controls with the DPDP Act. There is that took a lot of consultation. I know because we were involved in it quite a bit. Now they are trying to have a draft regulation around AI. And I think the intent is there to not stifle innovation, but evolve the regulation over a period of time. I am actually not a big fan of just having an institution being set up that sits there to regulate it, because the moment you have that, then you become hostage to that institution versus the intent of it. And we've seen that happen, right? So my point of view, sir.
AI and ML. If ML comes, Industry 4.0, then managing the disruption can be stopped. This is how the industry works. I have implemented it a few years ago, where started transporting 4 million tons of iron ore below the ground. When some transporter want to disrupt it, this goes below the ground, the pipeline. He came and tried to dig it, then siren came, and we could immediately know where it is happening, it is prevented. So it has to be ML, machine learning.
Yes.
Industry 4.0. Managing the disruption can happen. The artificial intelligence, the negative side can be stopped through ML, machine learning, autopilot mode. The data analytics and translating into action.
Thank you. Thank you. The next question, please.
Yeah. Good morning. My name is Ujjwal Ravindran. I have a startup in quantum encryption technologies. My question, or maybe we talk about multi-agentic AI. From an Indian context, what we have seen is Durga having 10 different arms, and it is all coordinated. Why are we so worried about getting into a multi-agentic AI and it going wrong somewhere? In my perspective, every organization should look at Indian context and create that multi-agentic AI with a reference of our mythological representation. It's a representation, but we can beautifully see that coordinated multi-task being executed. Will it be a kind of a representation, and every organization build that kind of a multi-agentic AI which perform multiple tasks with a very coordinated way?
Yeah, so Abhijit, you want to take that?
Yeah, I think your question is very, very profound. See, for the multi-agentic system to work the way you are mentioning, you need to have something called trust. Now, trust is something that you impute on a system, right? Through certain guidances as well as looking at certain behaviors. Now, AI agents essentially work with large language models. The way you can work with them is to give instruction through something called prompt. And that is where the problem lies, because the prompts are something anybody can give anything, right? So the moment you have an agent A, you give a prompt which perhaps breaks what agent A is trying to be, you actually change the nature of the agent itself and trying doing something else, right? And that is where the trust gets broken. So if you have a secure framework through which you can tell that the agent is supposed to do whatever the agent is doing, and it is not doing something which is untrustworthy, then of course you actually should have an multi-agent system, because that actually brings huge amount of benefit, both in terms of economics as well as in terms of transparency and efficiency, because it can get things done much faster and much cheaper in a much collaborative way. So I think when you compare and contrast this with a human multi-agency system that you talked about, Indian systems, essentially there is an unwritten trust framework that is created, right? Which actually has some kind of a mechanisms of how systems should get self-regulated or regulated externally, or there is a checks and balances. So if you can bring that in AI, it's not that it's not happening. There have been technical as well as regulatory progresses on that. Definitely multi-agent system is the way to go.
I'll just add to that. I think the point you made, there's nothing that precludes that. Actually, we are moving into a world that is going to create agents of agents. That is the world that we are moving into. And to Subhashish's point, there are two aspects to it. One is how do you build a technology layer that actually enables you to do that? Today, we, for example, do it through something called watsonx Orchestrate that does it. But we are actually now moving into saying, can you actually start to create a secure agent control plane, an agentic control plane that actually helps you manage multiple agents to complete pieces of work? So that is where the world is going. And I think what you are articulating, we'll probably start to see that in the next, probably this year itself, in some respects, both technically and with the right governance, which is needed to enable the trust around it.
Thank you, Sandeep. So I think we'll not be able to take any more questions because we are running out of time and the other programs are lined up. So as a closing note, just I will try to summarize in 1 minute what we have discussed today. So I think beautifully started by Amitabh, setting the context of how AI is going in the industry. Then Subhashish started with agentic AI and he has shown beautiful demos, 2 demos there. Then Pallavi give a good example of how AI has been used in the Cisco ecosystem. And I think most of us are using Cisco tools one way or the other. Then Abhijit talked about leadership, AI, and how industry is changing. Sabyasachi talked about their applications, including some OCR applications. And Sandeep covered a lot of things, including like the focus of IBM and also India and digital sovereignty and all other things, which is also very close to my heart or what we are doing. So with that, I want to conclude that. Thank you so much. I think you have been a great audience, great questions. Thank you so much. And I think we can proceed with the moment of appreciation. Yeah, I think. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chakraborty. It was a mesmerizing session moderated by you. Thank you, Mr. Ray. And I think, when question answers happen with the members of the audience, it speaks volumes of engagement which happened. And we are grateful for such a lovely audience here. May I now request Dr. Singh to kindly come to the dais. There are some mementos which needs to be done. They deserve a better clap. Thank you, Dr. Singh, for the honors. May I now request all the panelists to kindly step forward for a group photo. Thank you. This ends the inaugural for today. Coordinators for the next session kindly, proceed with the proceedings.